92.3 Nigeria Info.
Good morning, it's Monday, 3rd November 2025. INEC's continuous voter registration is still on. If you haven't registered, this is your chance. Coming up this hour, reactions trail President Trump's threat of military action in Nigeria. President Tinubu said to meet Donald Trump over designation as country of particular concern. PDP crisis deepens as suspensions and counter-suspensions fly. River State Ministry of Health steps in to settle hospital bills for a detained baby. Iche community rejoins national greed after a decade of darkness. Details of these and more after this break. You're welcome back. I'm Ifechukwu Muonyili with the news. Now, let's begin the news this morning with various reactions to the United States designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern. Over the weekend, U.S. President Donald Trump said he had asked the U.S. Defense Department to prepare for possible military action in Nigeria if the government continues to allow the killing of Christians. In a post on his social media handle, President Trump also threatens to cut off all U.S. aid to Nigeria and wipe out the terrorists behind the killings. But Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu disagrees. Now, he says there is no mass slaughter of Christians in Nigeria. In a statement over the weekend, President Tinubu insists that painting Nigeria as religiously intolerant is simply not true. He says his administration keeps working with Christian and Muslim leaders and is tackling insecurity everywhere regardless of faith. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu is set to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump in the coming days over Trump's recent claim that Christians are being targeted in Nigeria. Presidential aide Daniel Bwala says both leaders will discuss terrorism and the different views on whether the attacks in Nigeria are religiously targeted or affect people of all faiths. Now, Bwala also noted that Trump has previously supported Nigeria by approving arms sales, which Tinubu's administration has used in the fight against insurgency. The meeting follows Trump's threat to cut off U.S. assistance and launch possible military action if the Nigerian government fails to stop alleged killings of Christians. In the same vein, scholars at the University of Port Harcourt are reacting differently to the U.S. decision to list Nigeria as a country of particular concern. A professor of African History and Development Studies, Charles Asuk, says Nigeria can look to other countries for support if the U.S. follows through on its threat to cut off aid. He made this known in a chat with our correspondent, Soebi Oruwari.
International relations is fluid. When your traditional allies or friends are not willing to help you, you look for help from another international state actor. You have the option to either go to Russia or China. After all, in international politics or international political economy, China is the new kid on the block. You know, Nigeria has never been in the good books of Trump from time. So we should not be expecting foreign aid from the U.S.
Professor Asuk explains that foreign aid is usually driven by the donor country's interest, not just the needs of the nation receiving the help. He also questioned the idea that Vice President Shetima's comments at the UN summit triggered the U.S. position.
When Trump came, one of the things Trump did was to investigate the utilization of fund USAID. They discovered that the funding from USAID was used to increase the security crisis in the northern part of Nigeria. We cannot say that because VP went to the UN and made a national statement looking at Nigeria and US relations.
But Professor of Islamic Studies Abdurazak Kilani wants Nigerians to reject the label entirely, insisting the United States is acting like an enemy of the country.
Nigeria will be having our own local issue which we have been managing from independence. Those who are calling for Nigeria to be labeled a country of concern, they are the enemies of Nigeria. Should see Nigerian interests as uppermost in our mind and ensure that that kind of a label does not fit the country narrative. It is true, Muslims are the key, Christians are the key, but nobody has jubilated or celebrated such thing. When these bandits, Boko Haram, where they kill, they do not ask for religious identity. They kill. They go to a mosque and massacre people during prayer. They go to church and they go to the street and kill people.
Professor Kilani also accused the U.S. of being selective in how it addresses Nigeria's security challenges, especially after President Trump's comment about protecting Christians.
For U.S. government to have taken such kind of a stand demonstrated the level of hypocrisy and double-facedness. The genocide in Gaza was supported, financed, and funded by the U.S. government. America was looking the other side. Even the ICC judgment was considered to be non-binding by the United States government. Now, as far as Nigeria is concerned, the Nigerians should need to rally around, support themselves, support their government, and support all their religious body to ensure that nobody come outside to divide us.
In a related story, an international relations expert, Professor Ben Nanen, wants the federal government to take advantage of the current situation instead of denying claims of genocide against Christians. Professor Nanen is a lecturer at the University of Port Harcourt, and he said Nigeria should make it clear the killings are act of terrorism, not government policy, and use that argument to request military support from the U.S. He was speaking to correspondent Ifechukwu Muonyili.
The Nigerian government should do is to make the best of the situation instead of denial. The Nigerian government could argue that it's not a state policy to persecute Christians or not to protect religious minorities in the country. It's not a state policy, but it is happening, and it is through acts of terrorism, banditry. These are the key issues, and they should not seek the cooperation of Americans. Okay, to make the best of the American intervention in this matter, to seek American support.
Now, he also recommends exploring diplomatic options through the United Nations to address the crisis.
There is also a diplomatic front that they can pursue. They could work through the United Nations system to appoint a special rapporteur on Nigeria. I think we have a lot of opportunity to deal with this situation once and for all. So the issue of the government denying or playing ostrich around the whole issue, that is not the best approach.
Professor Nanen believes the way President Tinubu's administration is handling the issue shows a lack of competence in managing the problem.
It's not a matter of, being shy or ashamed or that the country doesn't have the capacity. No, clearly Nigeria needs assistance in this matter. The government is not very skillful or is a bit deficient in handling issues of this nature. Foreign relations is not one of the best gifts of Nigerian government.
Now, former Kano State Governor Musa Kwankwaso has added his voice to President Donald Trump's recent comments about Nigeria. Kwankwaso says he is worried about the growing threat coming from the U.S. president, especially after Nigeria was labeled a country of particular concern. The NNPP presidential candidate in 2023 insists Nigeria is a sovereign nation dealing with insecurity that affects people of all religions and ethnic groups, not just Christians. Kwankwaso wants the U.S. to support Nigeria with advanced security technology instead of issuing warnings that could divide the country. He's also advising the federal government to appoint special envoys and permanent ambassadors to engage Washington and defend Nigeria's interests. And to Nigerians, Kwankwaso says this is a time to stand united, not divided. However, the South Vice President of the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, Archbishop Emma Isong, says the U.S. move is justified. Now, he tells Nigeria Info's Onyekachi that the Nigerian government should actually be grateful for the designation because the U.S. has credible intelligence on the killings.
We owe the American government appreciation letter because nothing is wrong in calling a spade a spade. International Community of Nations have been watching Nigeria for many years. These guys have enough technology, enough intelligence surveillance to say what they want to say. To say that Christians have been targeted within communities, some communities have been wiped out, most of them have been moved to IDP camps. You cannot agree, except somebody who has been sleeping for the past 20 years will not know the truth.
Now, the BFN leader, who also heads Christian Central Chapel International in Calabar, says this is the time for Nigeria to restructure its security system.
Let's stop living in denial. Apologize to the populace, put our acts together, and possibly restructure our intelligent architecture so that Nigerians will stop Japa. They will come back to this nation and live joyfully and freely. And possibly this will also help the U.S. government to back up Nigerian government, increase their firing power, defensive power.
Now, he also dismisses fears that the U.S. decision will hurt the fight against insecurity.
I work together under anti-corruption and interreligious department of the United States Embassy. I'm a member of board. Nigerians have nothing to fear whose hands are clean. Anybody collaborating with ethnic and religious persecution and cleansing deserves the sanctions of the U.S. government if that would cause us to sit back and fix our nation. There is no sanction that will be so blanket to affect the common man.
Now, let's come back here in River State. The father of a baby allegedly held by a private hospital in Port Harcourt is denying reports that he abandoned his child after his wife died. Ifechukwu tells our correspondent Ifunanya Obeme Ndukwe that the dispute started when he insisted the hospital should keep treating the baby instead of transferring the child elsewhere. He says the hospital claimed it didn't have the equipment to continue care and told him to move the baby to UPTH. But both UPTH and River State University Teaching Hospital said they had no space.
Hospital now under 1 week and something like 2 weeks. They want to come up with another issue that I should come and transfer the baby to another hospital. I said why? They said they don't have the facilities to take care of that. I said I'm lying. Before my baby now, I see 2 baby do of 3. Those who have already they okay. Which facilities will I use on those ones? Use that the facilities on my baby. Then they give me a letter heading to go UPTH. I went to UPTH. They asked me, say, why am I there? The medical have already called them. They told them that there's no space. They still insist that I must transfer that baby to another hospital. I said, what? Sister, you people get another intention.
Ifechukwu also alleges that things got worse when his sister-in-law, who went to check on the baby, was detained by the hospital and pressured to sign a transfer document. He insists he never stopped paying the bills for his child's treatment.
My wife's sister go there to go and check on that baby. Merida lock that girl up there, hold her hostage that she must sign to carry this baby out. They do not agree. Till I go there with 2 of my friends, before we reach Merida hospital there, they have already surrendered everywhere with the police. 1 month and I'll be going there. If I'm not around, I will send my brother or my in-law to go there and see the baby. Anything that they need, I'm the one that providing it for my baby, not the Merida hospital.
He says that after 3 months, the hospital presented a new bill of 4.6 million naira. When he appealed for a reduction, he says he was served court papers instead.
3 months, they said my baby is okay to go. They discharged my baby. Then my bill is another 4.6 million. I said, okay, you people have tried, but right now, I'm not capable to pay such amount. You people should look into that bill. They did it for me. I said, okay, let me pay 1 million. They said, no, after dragging, after agreement, they said, okay, then I go back, I'll begin trying on my own. Depositing small. I need that me one-on-one. Say, please, I know you people have tried. Can you people release the child for me? Right agreement. Let me be paying small instrumentally. 2 days after, they served me paper from court.
Now, when our correspondent visited the hospital for a response, the staff said the managing director and administrative officer were not available. As of the time of this report, the hospital has not reacted. Meanwhile, the child has now been released and the River State government has promised to settle the outstanding bill. Health Commissioner Dr. Adeze Ore says a payment plan has now been agreed upon and the hospital will submit the final bill by Monday.
Mr. Onyenehigo, a generator repair technician, expressed economic difficulties with the repayment of the outstanding hospital bills. Although the agreement between both parties included a repayment plan, the ministry has at this point waded in to offset the outstanding balance. The hospital has therefore been asked to submit a report of all outstanding balances to the Ministry of Health by Monday, 3rd November 2025. This is to enable the family cope better with the responsibilities of raising a young child.
Now let's now go to Eche, where there was excitement in Odagwa community as residents marked the flag off of their long-awaited reconnection to the national power grid. The event held at the community market square was led by Eche local government chairman Chima Boniface Njoko. Odagwa has been in darkness for more than 10 years after its power installations were vandalized. Njoko announced that the council will install 2 new 500 kVA transformers to replace the damaged ones and warned that the council would no longer tolerate vandalism of public infrastructure. He also assured the community that all outstanding debt owed to the power holding company of Nigeria will be cleared so Eche communities can finally enjoy steady electricity. The chairman urged residents to settle internal disputes to attract more development and directed the traditional ruler Ifechukwu Samuel Odom and community leaders to set up a peace committee. APC leader in Eche, Ephraim Muzi, who chaired the event, praised Njoko as a leader with a big heart and the credibility needed to deliver for the people. Still in Eche, the chairman, Chima Boniface Njoko, is urging young people in Eche to stay away from violence, cultism, and crime and channel their energy into more productive activities. He made a call at the flag-off of the Secretariat remodeling project in Okehi, where he also lamented the poor state of the council complex and promised to give it a new look. Njoko thanked the contractors handling the project and pledged to work closely with the councillors to improve Eche. He is also encouraging residents who haven't registered for their voters' card to take part in the ongoing registration exercise. Leader of the Eche 10th Legislative Council, Marshal Wankwo, praised the chairman's effort and assured him of the councillors' support. Now let's talk about the environment. And an agric expert is warning that relief materials won't solve anything for communities living in flood-prone areas. Samuel Mukogwa says the state must first provide safer places for residents and aggressively desilled canals.
Government telling you to move. The government is responsible for that movement. The government is responsible for every logistic involved in moving the people. There are housing estates built by government. There are IDP camps. So government needs to be intentional and ensure that the people are well fed. That is the responsibility of government. It's not just to tell them to move to higher land.
Now, he also wants the government to lead the campaign against into waterways. Another stakeholder, Chizi Yomasali, says the government has been too slow.
Government have to get these things initiated first before the people will take it from them. Government will spearhead.
The ecological fund, so there's going to be a plan, and we need to have a long-term plan for such things. There is nobody in River State that does not know that that part of River State will always come up with flood disaster, and so there should be a plan. So I don't know why we always wait until there is something before we then begin to have an emergency, because we like donation instead of solving the problem permanently. I think that they should convoke a meeting of experts to discuss on what to do.
And Ngene Flood Disaster Response Coordinator Enieta Abieba says people in Orashi want a permanent solution, not rice and mattresses.
The challenges arising from this remain traumatic and pathetic. The inhabitants of the Orashi region, especially in Ngene, do not need farm inputs. What they need rise far beyond flood relief materials. They need permanent solution to the challenges of the annual flooding of the region.
Still to come, the messy nature of the PDP ahead of its planned convention will get us talking soon. Now, that will be after we come back from this break. Do stay tuned. Now to party politics, and the PDP crisis is getting messy. The party's National Working Committee has suspended 4 top officials for 1 month, including National Legal Advisor Kamaldeen Ajibade and National Secretary Samuel Ayawo. National Publicity Secretary Debo Ologunwawa says they've been referred to the disciplinary committee. But in a swift counter move, Senator Samuel Ayawo has also announced the suspension of the PDP National Chairman Umar Damagum, accusing him of incompetence and mismanaging party funds. He went further, suspending Debo Ologunwawa and others and referring them to the disciplinary committee. All this is happening just after a federal high court ruling on Friday stopped the party from holding its national convention. And that suspension didn't sit well with former Ogun State governorship aspirant Segun Sonwunmi. Now, he tells Onyeka Chinwosu that the first round of suspensions was irresponsible and blames PDP governors for the chaos.
Well, I think it is irresponsible for the first side to suspend because I followed the trend. It was the Damagum side that first suspended the Ayawo side, and in a quick retaliation, they've also gone on to suspend them. They do not understand by the Electoral Act. The office of the chairman and that of the secretary or the harmony of the party must work as one. I blame the so-called governors who are managing this process now, and it shows their lack of capacity.
He also wants the party not to ignore the court judgment stopping the convention. Sonwunmi fears the crisis could leave the PDP without candidates in 2027. Recall that the court ruling says the PDP must first obey its own constitution, the Electoral Act, and the law before holding any convention. Still talking politics. Bayelsa State Governor Doediri says his decision to leave the PDP for the APC was made in the overall interest of the state. He spoke publicly about the move for the first time during the 14th Bayelsa...
The show continues.
I beg your pardon. Now, he spoke publicly about the move for the first time during the 14th Bayelsa Thanksgiving Day in Yenagoa, saying someone had to take the step and he did so. On behalf of Bayelsans, Didi told the crowd that although some may not understand his choice now, time would reveal that it was for the state's benefit. He also praised the unity shown by political leaders across party lines at the Thanksgiving service, insisting that politics should drive development, not division. Governor Diri is expected to move to the APC officially today, Monday. Talking crime, the family of Bright Okito Wilson Oko has petitioned the AIG Zone 16 in Yenagoa over an alleged attempted murder in Abua Odwa, River State. And their lawyer, Dr. Biobele Georgiou, says Bright was attacked with a machete on September 28th after being accused of theft and is now on oxygen support. Bright's younger brother, Royal Oko, spoke to our correspondent.
Imugeti Aselemi came to our house and threatened us that we should treat him, that they are going to come back to hit him more. So after I said that, I have to confront him in the chief house. I asked him, what did my brother really do to you that you people do this? He bring out his smartphone and show me at the smartphone there was 3 short rod. And this is what he stole. I said, even though he stole this rod, that does not guarantee you to beat him to this extent of he's a half dead now. Why did he do this? The people that came out to help the young man, he summoned them at the juju. Me, my most senior, and my junior sister, we also included in that juju case. As it stands now, my elder brother is looking for money to settle the aspect of the juju.
And he says the suspects are still moving freely and threatening the family. The lawyer wants urgent police intervention. The accused didn't respond to calls, while one of them, Chief Odio Amiodi Samuel, cut the call when contacted by Nigeria Info. Bayelsa State Police Command say they will update us in due time. And now a former Director General of the MASA, Dakuku Peter Side, is challenging young Nigerians to move beyond social media activism and start taking up real leadership roles. Speaking at the 2025 Leadership Summit on Youth and Women Empowerment, Peter Side criticized the state of the economy, saying Nigeria is still stuck exporting raw materials and importing finished goods, a cycle he believes keeps the country poor. He wants young people to think ahead, solve problems, and demand accountability from leaders. now we move straight to business. NNPCL has reduced petrol pump price from 955 naira to 945 naira per litre. And Petrol One says it supports the new 15% import duty on petrol and diesel, saying it will protect local refineries, but warns it could push prices up later. On the international scene, Israeli forces have killed another Palestinian in Gaza despite the U.S. brokered ceasefire, raising the number of people killed since the truce began to 236. Medics say the latest victim was hit by an Israeli drone in the Shuja'iyeh area of Gaza City, where troops have been demolishing buildings. Gaza's health ministry also reports that 600 people have been injured during the ceasefire period and that more than 500 bodies have been recovered from the rubble, bringing the overall death toll in the war to 68,856. And that's the news. Before we go, here are the headlines once again. We brought you all the reactions following President Trump's threat of military action in Nigeria. You also heard that President Tinubu is set to meet Donald Trump over the designation of Nigeria as country of particular concern. And we reported that the crisis in the PDP has deepened following suspensions and counter-suspensions. You also heard the Rivers State Ministry of Health has stepped in to settle hospital bills for a detained baby. The news was edited by Ufoma Ewamano. To reach the news team, send an SMS on WhatsApp to 0808-721-7215. I'm Ifechukwu Muonyili. Many thanks for listening.